When Rockstar Games delayed Grand Theft Auto 6 last year, a firm called Ampere Analysis sat down and did the math on what that delay would cost. Not what the delay would cost Rockstar, what the delay would cost the entire video game industry. The number $2.7 billion.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Let me repeat that. $2.7 billion.
Damn!
Gone. Just gone from the industry for 2025. Not because of a recession, not because of a console shortage, not because of anything anybody did wrong.
God, please, no! 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 No!
It was all gone because one game just wasn't ready.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
This is the story of Grand Theft Auto 6. Not the car chases, not the Vice City memes, not the price tag that everyone's talking about. The real story is that the video game industry in 2026 has quietly built itself into a structure where one single release from one single publisher is load bearing for the entire business.
God, please, no! 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 No!
And that's before we talk about the 34 people who got fired for trying to unionize while making this thing. What is up, Internet? I'm Ash. Welcome back to ZMOP. Today, we're going to discuss something that's been bugging me for genuinely the last year. And since I had a final project for class that allowed me to make a video about it, here we are. Grand Theft Auto 6 drops November 19th, 2026. By the time it releases, it will have been 13 years since the last mainline GTA. 13 years. That's a long time. And in that time, the video games industry has reorganized itself around this one release in ways most people don't even realize. So today, I want to walk you through three things. One, why this game is holding up billions of dollars of industry revenue. Two, a fight over how much it's going to cost you, and why that might matter even more than the outcome. And three, the story almost nobody is covering, which is what happened to the people who built it. By the end of this video, I want you to look at GTA 6 and see something much bigger than just a game. I want you to see an industry that's concentrated so much of its weight on one IP, everything around it has started to crack.
あとは任せろ。さあ、実験を始めようか。
Before we can talk about GTA 6's impact, we need to understand what kind of industry it's actually running. Right now, the games industry is not in great shape. Every year, a guy named Matthew Ball puts out a report named State of Video Gaming. Ball is probably the most cited analyst in games business journalism. His 2026 report had one line that kind of broke gaming media. China is eating the video games industry.
China. China.
What he means by that is this. Global video game industry hit a record high in 2025. Around $195.6 billion. But if you strip out Chinese publishers, Japanese publishers, Roblox, the rest of the industry, meaning PC, console, and mostly Western or American gaming companies, is flat. Operating profits for Western publishers are down below where they were in 2019, even though consumer spending is up 40%. That's the setup. The whole industry is concentrated into fewer winners. Private investment goes. That's the setup. The whole industry is concentrated into fewer winners. Private investment into game companies dropped 55% year over year in 2025. Fewer new games are breaking through. Old games like Fortnite, Roblox, Call of Duty, they're all eating about 60% of all playtime. Wall calls these black hole games. Everything else in the market is fighting for scraps. At the same time, the industry is contracting. AAA games have gotten dramatically more expensive to make. Valve's data pegs the average AAA development budget at over $200 million. For reference, that's roughly double what it cost to make a AAA game 10 years ago. Now look at Rockstar. The industry estimates the total budget for GTA 6 development, marketing, and online infrastructure somewhere between the $1 and $2 billion range. These numbers are accurate. Grand Theft Auto 6 is basically the most expensive game ever made. More expensive than Hollywood blockbusters, 10 times the cost of what an average AAA release would have been. Why is this all important? Because the video game industry in 2026 is in a weird place. The overall market is stagnant, but the cost of making some of the biggest games has increased and continued to increase. And the number of games that are actually succeeding at this budget level is getting smaller. That's a problem. And in that environment, a game like Grand Theft Auto 6, which is almost guaranteed to sell tens of millions of copies, becomes disproportionately important to the industry's overall numbers. It's not just another big game, it's the one release everyone else's year depends on. And when Rockstar moves to date, it doesn't just move Rockstar's year, it moves everyone's year, which brings us to the delay. GTA 6 has already been delayed twice. First time fall of last year to May of this year, then again from this month, May of 2026 to this November of 2026. Those delays sent shockwaves through the industry in ways that should tell you how much this one game is impacting an entire industry and also carrying it. Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who is probably the most reliable reporter in gaming, wrote about it in a way that has become the defining framing.
Easy, don't
Well, then you better
I'm coming out.
Phrasing.
because I've swallowed just about as much as I can take from you.
Hey, phrasing!
Sweet.
Don't
Classic game
say it. I'm in enough pain.
Yeah, the entire hotel's talking about your little shaving accident. And if you want to get slots into you,
Phrasing.
you better start eating strudel. Major chubby chaser.
And don't you want to freshen up after your long ride?
Phrasing, mother. Sorry,
Publisher
Yes,
moved games
please,
out of
excuse
GTA
me.
6's
Look,
window. Some
Lana,
moved
don't get me wrong.
into
I like your spunk.
hoping to catch the
Shut up.
spillover
So,
traffic.
hey, it's a happy
Some
ending.
delayed their own projects by
Yeah, it's
months,
just a big old
specifically to
goddamn
avoid the
fairy
shadow
tale.
of the game
Fairy tale?
and its release date.
Phrasing?
Schreier reported that he spoke to
No.
developers on games scheduled for fall 2026 who told him they were praying Rockstar would delay again, because if Rockstar delayed, they'd get an excuse to delay their own games to 2027 and have more time.
Stop it. Get some help.
It's bad quality control. That's an industry where one release has so much gravity, it's warping the calendar around it. So, what exactly did this first delay cost? Ampere Analysis, the same firm I mentioned at the top video, estimated that the Grand Theft Auto 6 delay would strip $2.7 billion out of the 2025 games industry forecast.
What? What the?
About 700,000 fewer PS5 and Xbox Series X consoles sold in 2025 because of this. Take-Two's own stock dropped after the second delay was announced. PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the biggest accounting firms in the world, followed up by saying most of this money would eventually shift forward, adding around $3 billion to everyone's 2026 numbers instead. Which, on paper, sounds fine. The money's going to come back. Everyone relax.
So, hey, it's a happy ending.
Yeah, it's just a big old goddamn fairy tale.
Fairy tale? Phrasing?
Except That's not how that works, especially for developers and publishers who had to rearrange their entire release calendar around Rockstar. Electronic Arts moved Battlefield release forward to fill the gap. Other studios sat on finished games for months. And some games that would probably have been healthy releases in their original window got buried when they tried to relaunch. Here's the thing that can make you uncomfortable if you care about the industry as a whole. When one single release from one single publisher can move $2.7 billion of aggregate industry revenue just by being delayed, that's a sign that the industry has concentrated its aren't sustainable. That means the middle of the market has been hollowed out. It means small and mid-sized studios can't absorb the kind of structural shocks that a GTA 6 delay creates. And it also means when Rockstar inevitably delivers GTA 6 and collects its 40 million copies and $3 billion in 1 year revenue, people celebrating that success will be celebrating something that just proved the system is too dependent on one singular outcome. Which brings us to the conversation everyone actually paid attention to: price. Most of last year, dominant conversation around GTA 6 hasn't been about its quality or its release date. It's been about how much it's going to cost. Here's where this started. Matthew Ball, yeah, that same Matthew Ball, wrote in his 2025 report that certain people in the industry were hoping GTA 6 would be priced at $100. This will allow to reset for the ceiling of AAA games across the board. Other industry analysts picked that up. Michael Pachter, Michael Duce. The argument was that if any game could break the $100 barrier, it would be this one, because the demand is effectively unlimited. Then a retailer listing surfaced on the Xbox store showing a placeholder price of £89, which roughly converts to $100 USD. Rockstar never confirmed this, by the way, but they didn't have to. That number was out there. Conversation's on. For months, gaming media treated the $100 GTA 6 as an inevitability. Some writers framed it as justified by the game's scope. Others framed it as the start of a new industry standard that would price a lot of players out of buying new games at launch. This is the part of the story I want you to understand. The fight wasn't really about GTA 6's price. This fight was about what GTA 6's price would do for every other game for the next decade. Because here's the math on AAA pricing. The industry standard went from $60 to $70 during the Xbox Series X launch in 2020. That's a $10 bump. Publishers had been eyeing this bump for years, but nobody wanted to be the first one to do it. If GTA 6 launched at $100, then every other publisher can easily say, well, Rockstar did it. The market accepted it, and the floor would rise for everything. So when analysts said certain people in the industry are hoping for a $100 GTA 6, they weren't talking about Rockstar. They were talking about the executives at every other AAA publisher who wanted Rockstar to take the PR hit of being the first to $100 so that they can follow behind at $90 and $95 and call it a bargain. But here's how this actually ended up resolving itself. And it's actually a pretty interesting story. In March 2026, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick went on the Game Business podcast with host Christopher Drink. The topic was supposed to be in-game advertising. Zelnick, making an offhand comment defending his position against ads in premium titles, said, quote, "It would feel unfair to insert advertisements into a game someone paid $70 or $80 for." That was the slip. That was the first real signal from Take-Two about where GTA 6's price was actually landing. $70 to $80, not $100. And independently, a market research firm, Media Research, had run a formal pricing study on GTA 6. They surveyed about 2,000 US consumers using a pricing methodology called Garber-Granger analysis. Their conclusion was pretty blunt. A $100 launch price would reduce both unit sales and total revenue. The optimal price point, as they said, was $69.99 or $70. If media is right, these certain people in the industry who wanted a $100 GTA 6 weren't just asking Rockstar to take a PR hit on principle. They were asking Rockstar to leave money on the table on purpose, just to give the rest of the industry cover to raise their own prices.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
That's a pretty rough request to make of one company on behalf of the whole sector. Here's the part where we can't just celebrate and go home. $70 to $80 is still a bump. Tom Henderson, a pretty well-sourced leaker, has been reporting for months that there'll be a $100 premium edition with 7 days of early access. Basically charging an extra $20 to play the biggest narrative game of the decade before everyone else does. Fans are calling it a spoiler tax. Because in the age of YouTube and streaming, if you don't buy the premium edition, your timeline is going to be nothing but GTA 6 story moments for 7 days straight before you can even load the game. So the headline is that GTA 6 didn't get a $100 base price ceiling. The fine print is that the industry found a different way to get to $100. It just wrapped the extra $20 in an early access bow. But here's where my video turns, because none of what we've just talked about, the delay, the pricing war, the industry pressure, none of it matters as much as what happens next. October 30th, 2025. Days before Rockstar announced the second GTA 6 delay, the company fired 34 employees. 31 in the UK at their offices in Edinburgh, Dundee, and Lincoln, 3 in Canada at their Toronto studio. Rockstar claims these employees were fired for gross misconduct, specifically distributing and discussing confidential company information in a public forum. The Independent Workers' Union of Great Britain tells a completely different story. According to the IWGP, all 34 fired employees were members of a private, invite-only Discord channel used for trade union discussions. The union's president, Alex Marshall, called the firings one of the most blatant and ruthless acts of union busting in the history of the games industry. I want to walk you through what we actually know, because this deserves to be told carefully. The Discord channel the fired employees were part of was, according to former Rockstar developer Mark Neal, speaking to Big Issue, private, invite-only, and non-discoverable. Moderators verified the identity of everyone joined. You had to either be a Rockstar employee or an IWGB official. The fired workers were from different departments, different studios, different seniority levels. Neal himself was told about his termination by phone. Another fired employee, Lloyd Knott, said his dismissal was a bolt from the blue, and that when he asked for documentation of what he'd supposedly done wrong, he was told everything was in the envelope on the desk, which turned out just to be a dismissal letter for no specific allegations. A Canadian worker speaking to CBC News under anonymity said the only common thread among the fired workers were that they were all members of the union Discord. 3 workers at Rockstar Toronto were brought into rooms one at a time on October 30th and told they were terminated for breaking a non-disclosure agreement. And the response from Rockstar's own remaining workforce? 220 current Rockstar employees signed a letter demanding the reinstatement of their fired colleagues. When more than 200 people who still work at the company signed an open letter stating their company was wrong to fire their coworkers, It's not nothing. The IWGB has initiated formal legal action against Rockstar. 29 of the fired workers applied for what's called interim relief, basically an emergency reinstatement to Rockstar's payroll until the full tribunal could be heard. In January of this year, a judge in Glasgow, Scotland, denied that interim relief. But, and this is important, the union was careful to point out that the denial does nothing to suggest that Rockstar will not be found guilty of unfair dismissal when the case goes to trial. The bar for interim relief is very high. The bar for unfair dismissal in the full tribunal, much lower. Now, as of right now, that tribunal hasn't been heard yet, so I want to be clear. Nothing has been legally proven on either side. Rockstar has not been found guilty of union busting. These fired workers have not been legally ruled to have done nothing wrong. Both sides will have their story, and the case is working its way through the British legal system. I want to tell you why I'm including this here in a video about the games industry. Because I could have done this video as a straight business analysis. Pricing war, delay, impact, market structure, and turned it in and gotten a grade. I want to level with you and tell you why I'm including this in a video about the games industry. I could have just done this as a video performing a straight business analysis. Pricing war, delay, impact, market structure, and turned it in and then gotten a grade. But here's what would be missing from that version. GTA 6 is the most expensive, most anticipated, and most load-bearing single release the video game industry has ever produced. Its first-year revenue is projected at $3.2 billion. Its budget is somewhere between $1 and $2 billion. By itself, it will move the needle on global console sales. And while that game was being built in the months leading up to its release, 34 of the people building it were fired under circumstances that the union is calling the worst case of union busting in games industry history. The tribunal will decide the legal question. I'm not a lawyer, but I am a person who thinks the human cost of the biggest entertainment release in history should be part of the conversation about that release, and not just a footnote. If the games industry is going to concentrate this much weight on a single game, the people who bear the physical and emotional costs of making that game are the ones who absorb the shock. Rockstar's employees have been absorbing it for 13 years. 34 of them absorbed it by losing their jobs. I'm going to bring up these last three threads together because they're basically the same story told in three different ways. Thread 1. The industry is contracted around a small number of winners. Matthew Ball's data says the overall market outside of China and Roblox is basically flat. AAA budgets have doubled. Fewer studios can survive at the top end. This is creating pressure to concentrate more revenue into fewer, bigger releases. Thread 2. GTA 6 is the biggest of those bigger releases. The delay alone moved $2.7 billion across the calendar. Every other publisher had to reschedule around it. The ripple effects tell you exactly how top-heavy the industry has become. Thread 3. When you concentrate that much pressure on a single release, the human cost of making that release gets squeezed. Rockstar fired 34 employees who were trying to talk to each other about working conditions. That's what concentration looks like at the ground level. The people building the most valuable product in gaming history getting fired for saying they'd like a little more say in how they work and how much they get paid to work. These threads aren't separate, and they're not unique. They're all a part of one system. The games industry concentrates weight on fewer releases because the market is shrinking. These releases get more expensive because they have to carry more weight. The pressure on the people making them gets worse because the stakes get higher with each release. Workers try to organize to deal with that pressure, and then when they do, they get fired. That's the real story of GTA 6. Not the car chases, not the price tag, not the Vice City setting. The real story is that when you build an industry that depends on one game from one publisher to hold up an entire calendar year, everything around that game becomes more fragile, including the people. Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out November 19th. It's going to be enormous. It's probably going to be a great game. If I can get my hands on the PS5, I'll probably buy it. But when you boot it up on launch night and the opening credits roll, I want you to think about a few numbers. 2.7 billion in delayed revenue. $80 base price. $100 for early access. 3.2 billion projected at first year earnings. $34 employees fired while it was being polished. And 220 employees who signed a letter demanding for them back. Those numbers are the shape of the industry right now. Not a healthy industry. An industry where one game has to be perfect to hold up the mat for everyone else, and where the people making it are the ones who pay the cost of this pressure. I'm not telling you to not buy Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm telling you to see it. See what it costs. See who it costs. See what kind of industry requires one game to carry this much weight. And ask yourself, is that the industry that we want? Rockstar is going to be fine. Take-Two is going to be fine. Strauss Zelnick will be very fine. 34 people waiting at their tribunal deserve to be fine too. Once again, this is the video. This has been my final project for an Intro to Composition class. I do want to give a shout out to Professor Henley, my teacher, for the opportunity to put this in a video format. And if you, my viewers, like this kind of stuff and you enjoyed the deep dive, please like and subscribe. We do appreciate all of the interactions and feedback that you've been giving us over the last few weeks from the previous video. If you're new here, I do wrestling, tokusatsu, and gaming coverage on this channel year-round. Subscribe, turn notifications on, and I'll see you next OP.